ครับ Good evening and a very warm welcome to Thai PBS English News Service. You're with me this evening, Subhajon Klinsawan, as your host for tonight's program. It is the first time that the cabinet of Prime Minister Yingluck Shinawatra has organized a meeting in the South, which is a stronghold of the opposition Democrat Party. The Prime Minister explained the Women's Development Fund as well as listened to the problems of the people in the South, while the cabinet approved mega projects to develop the South worth more than 80 billion baht. The cabinet meeting in Phuket has approved 117 projects worth 80 billion baht to develop provinces bordering the Andaman Sea, including the tourism development projects, the building of Phang Nga Airport and developing Phuket Airport, and also expanding Phet Kasem Road from Chumphon to Phang Nga province. Meanwhile, a senator from Phuket pointed that this is the opportunity for the government to express their sincerity in developing southern Thailand, although it is not the main political base of the Pheu Thai party. This should well reflect the government of the people. However, manager of the Tourism Development Center of Walailak University expressed concern in regard of the massive budget, which need clear priorities. The cabinet further approved a budget worth 1.6 billion baht for the Thai Choi Thai project, gearing to help reduce expenses, which is divided into the Blue Flag project, selling goods with reasonable prices, and Cho Hui Choi Chat for small local retail stores. The next cabinet meetings outside Bangkok will be held in Nakhon Pathom and Ratchaburi provinces in the month of May. Following a by-election in 2010, the Election Commission gave a red card to Bhumjai Thai MP and Deputy Leader Bhumjai Wongtrairat for alleged violation of election law. Today, however, the Supreme Court rejected the EC's petition, meaning that Bhumjai will regain his MP status and his party will not be dissolved. Bhumjai Wongtrairat, deputy leader of the Bhumjai Thai party and Nakhon Ratchasima MP, was in December 2010 accused by the Election Commission of violating the election law after paying for a seminar of community leaders in Nakhon Ratchasima province in November 2010. The chief of the Provincial Development Office took the opportunity at the seminar to convince 300 eligible voters to vote for Bhumjai Wongtrairat in a by-election. Bhumjai claims he was unaware of the supportive speech. The EC at that time gave Bhumjai a red card, automatically revoking his MP status and ability to remain a party executive, putting his party at risk of being dissolved. According to the Supreme Court's investigation, they say they cannot find strong evidence to prove that Bhumjai used his personal connections and money for the accommodation, food, and other entertainment programs at the seminar of community leaders prior the by-election. Bhumjai was found not guilty. Following the court's order, Bhumjai says that he is satisfied with the court's judgment, which he says is based upon tangible facts. He will wait for the official court order to reach the EC before he files his request to regain his MP status. The Iranian bomber who blew his legs off on Sukhumvit 71 told police that he was the person who accidentally blew up his rented house on Valentine's Day and claims that he knows the other two bomb suspects, which contradicts statements made by the suspect arrested in Kuala Lumpur. Sidar Kaset Masus, who was arrested in Malaysia in mid-February after fleeing from Bangkok, told Malaysian authorities last week that he was a tourist and had nothing to do with the bombings and denied knowing the other two bombers arrested in Bangkok. However, Saeed Moradi, who lost his legs after encountering police, says otherwise. He claims that he knew the other two bombers, he accidentally blew up his rented house, and that he owns the suspect motorcycle, which police have confiscated. However, he refuses to reveal any information regarding the explosive devices. He is now charged with attempted murder and possession of illegal explosive devices. Saeed Moradi's confession will be useful when officers from the Attorney General's office go to KL to request the return of Sidar Kasadet Masus for a questioning and possible trial in this country. After sending a robotic device into the sewer system along Rama 4 to check the cause of the sinkhole, the BMA is now confident that the sewers did not cause this sinkhole. Arisak Kanti of the BMA Sewerage and Drainage Department is confident that the Bangkok Metropolitan Administration sewers were not responsible for the sinkhole. Engineers sent a robot equipped with infrared cameras to detect any possible leakages in the sewer pipelines. No leaks were found. Some pointed to the BMA's old sewer system as the possible cause of the collapse on Rama 4 Road this past weekend, claiming that leaking water drained subsurface sand away, leading to the sink. Authorities are now using ultrasonic waves to detect more possible underground holes, which may lead to more sinkholes. Rama 4, like many other roads in the capital, has many tunnels and pipelines under the road's surfaces. Associate Professor Bhumjai from Chulalongkorn University's Faculty of Engineering says additional construction and installation of underground channels may all have a say in creating these sinkholes. The BMA will tomorrow conduct surveys on riverside and canal side roads to check for any other potential sinkholes.
Is proposing to import crude palm oil, or CPO, from overseas following cooking oil producers' demands to raise the retail price from 42 baht per 1 liter bottle to 47 baht. The cooking oil producers claimed that a price increase is needed as the costs, namely the price of CPO, have taken an upward swing to 35 baht per kg from 29 baht last year. The ministry then recommended importing 40,000 tons of CPO from abroad at 30 baht per kg to help cooking oil producers cope with the rising costs. The import will be attained through PTT. Manit Wongsurirat, Deputy President of Palm Oil Industry Group, however, insisted that he disagreed with the Commerce Ministry's import measure, as the proposed increase in the retail price is caused by the seasonal low supply of fresh palm nuts, not by a shortage of local CPO. In the wake of the announcement of the ministry's import proposal, the price of fresh palm nuts has fallen from 6 baht to 5 baht and 5 satang, while CPO took a dip from 35 baht to around 32 and 33 baht. Manit did not believe that the Commerce Ministry could find CPO from abroad that is cheaper than in Thailand, since the local price reflects the world price at 35 baht per kg. Hence, if the import measure goes through, subsidies will have to be made to PTT at 5 baht per kg. Wiwat Bunya Pratibrat, Secretary General of National Palm Oil Association, commented that importing CPO is not the solution, as domestic production is still at a high level, and doing so will impact local CPO price. Wiwat suggested that the government should leave it to the free market and impose a price structure on how much palm planters, extracting factories, and refineries should receive. For instance, the appropriate price for fresh palm nuts should be 5 to 6 baht per kg, not 2 to 3 baht as outlined by the Commerce Ministry, since costs to palm planters, such as the price of fertilizers, have surged. Bunsong Teriyapirom, Commerce Minister, said that a CPO import may not be necessary if the domestic price becomes affordable. Still, the government remains committed to controlling commodity prices.
There are concerns over the ways in which the government is choosing to tackle palm oil problems. Dr. Rungtip Chodnapalai talked to Ananda Lodom, President of Horticultural Science Society of Thailand, who opposes the government's plan to import palm oil from neighboring countries and pointed out that Thai agriculture will be the one to suffer.
And the peak of the palm oil in Thailand for the production is start from April, May to June. Even now, the price of the fresh palm oil is a little bit increased, but I think that once the peak season coming up, the price of the fresh palm oil will be declined. So I think the price of the palm oil for consumption should be decreased as well.
So we don't have to import palm oil from abroad.
It is a very good question because on behalf of my position and also represent the palm oil producer, I oppose for the import of the palm oil from our neighboring countries, about 40,000 metric tons, because it doesn't solve any problem. But instead it will increase more problems in the near future. Once the palm oil of the farmers come to the market, the price will be much declined. And so it will cause a lot of problem to our farmers.
Still on the economy, worries are building up within the private sector that the growing public debt will end up jeopardizing the capital market. On top of exorbitant spending on flood prevention schemes and the disaster insurance fund, sources of public revenue are highly constrained. The present rate of fiscal expenditure could push the public debt to 50% of GDP within 2 years. Public Debt Management Office, or PDMO, reported that the current level of public debt amounts 41% of GDP, or 4.3 trillion baht. The debt level will worsen to 50% of GDP after taking into account fiscal deficits in 2012 to 2013 fiscal year, as well as loans taken out for flood prevention schemes and the disaster insurance fund. This will push the debt level even closer to the fiscal discipline threshold set at 60% of GDP. Narongchai Akraserani, chairman of the board of directors of MFC Asset Management, pointed out that fiscal spending has to be closely monitored, especially loan management, to ensure that allocated funds do not divert from their objectives. Nevertheless, Narongchai suggested that subsidizing commodity prices, such as energy, is still necessary, but such a measure should be short-term only. Also, the government needs to use its money efficiently by investing, since sources for fiscal revenue remain limited. More positively, Chakrit Parapantukun, Director General of the PDMO, believes that the country's public debt level will not increase too rapidly because spending on state projects is likely to be delayed, allowing the government time to manage its expenditure. Chakrit further mentioned that almost all public debt of Thailand incurs that denominated in baht, hence lacking any risk of fluctuating exchange rates. Following its recent field visit, Human Rights Watch reported that Burmese troops have caused the displacement of tens of thousands of people in northern Kachin state. Meanwhile, this rights group is saying that the Kachin army should stop using child soldiers and anti-personnel mines.
Its findings that troops in Myanmar have murdered, tortured and raped civilians since fighting with separatists in the northern Kachin state began 9 months ago. This, according to the New York-based rights group, has led to the displacement of 75,000 people, and government troops have blocked humanitarian aid, burned down villages, and forced children to work as porters.
We believe that the Burmese government should support an independent international mechanism to investigate alleged violations of international human rights and humanitarian law committed by all parties to the armed conflict in Kachin state and elsewhere in the country.
Additionally, after a visit to camps within Kachin state and southern China, Human Rights Watch is also accusing the Kachin Independence Army of using child soldiers and anti-personnel mines. Human Rights Watch says international involvement is needed to halt the atrocities. Despite the Myanmar government's apparent desire to reach a ceasefire agreement with separatist groups, violence is still widespread in the country. Hugh Adams for ThaiPBS.
The Haze situation in 7 out of 15 northern provinces remain critical. Local governments are trying to persuade northerners to bury their artificial leftovers rather than burning them. This aerial view of Chiang Mai proves that dust particles are still floating thick in the atmosphere. International health standards state that particles smaller than 10 microns should reach only 120 micrograms per cubic meter. Dust floating in Chiang Mai's air has now reached 192 micrograms per cubic meter. Not only does the haze damage locals' health, but the smog is disrupting flights as well. Flights in and out of Mae Hong Son province have been grounded for 3 days now, while planes flying to Chiang Rai must land with extra caution. Local governments are asking farmers to bury their rice stalks after cultivation rather than the normal practice in the region of burning them in preparation of the next crop cycle. Chiang Rai, Chiang Mai, Lamphun, Lampang, Mae Hong Son, Nan, and Tak provinces contain areas which have air quality lower than international health standards.